It is no secret that narcissistic parents can be very difficult during the holidays. It can be very difficult showing up to a family gathering where there's all these different dynamics going on within your narcissistic family system with siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, extended family, and also maybe even with neighbors and friends. In this video, we're going to be talking about 5 ways of dealing with narcissistic parents during the holidays. And this goes for the extended family and the narcissistic family system, because there's so many things going on in these systems that are uncomfortable, that are difficult. And you may not know exactly how to deal with that when you go to a holiday gathering. And so my hope is that this video is going to be something that's very helpful for you to understand things that you can do, things that maybe you don't want to do during the holidays with your narcissistic parent and family system, and something you can do for you to help you heal from the wounds of emotional abuse. Narcissistic abuse is emotional abuse, and there's so many different tactics that narcissistic parents or people in general use to keep you less than, to keep you in a 1 down or 20 down position, wherever it is that they want you, but you need to be inferior to them at all times. And so in this video, I'm going to be talking about some things that you can do to help you with that. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. I'm a transpersonal psychologist, holistic nutritional chef, and best-selling author of Get Well Now, Healing Yourself with Food and the Power of the Mind. And I help wounded ACONs, adult children of narcissists, to become healed icons. And what's an icon? An icon is somebody who's independent, confident, original, and naturally you. All of those things, your independence, your confidence, yourself really gets squashed by the narcissistic parent because it's all about them. And so I offer all kinds of things to help you heal from this, including this channel. So please take a moment to like this video. Please subscribe to my channel and share this with as many people as you think might benefit from the holistic perspectives, the holistic healing that can happen and can be done for parental narcissistic abuse of all kinds. Because usually if there's one narcissistic parent, there will be other narcissistic people all throughout your life, your boss, your friends, your mate. They can show up in any arena. So these things that I'm going to be talking about in this video are going to be really helpful for that. So the first way of dealing with narcissistic parents during the holidays is don't take the bait when they set you up. So narcissistic parents, narcissistic people in general, it may be a sibling or some other family member who may set you up to fail. And they do this to keep you, again, keep you under their control, keep you in the 1 down position. And also because when a narcissistic person has their sense of security damaged or touched by you, it's something that you're bringing up in them, in their minds, even though you're not thinking about it at all, except that you're walking on eggshells and worried about what you say and what you do, and want to make sure that you get things right so that things don't implode or don't explode or implode on you when you're going through being around your narcissistic parent. So a lot of times what they're doing is they're baiting you. And so what I'm going to suggest that you do is start to look for the bait. What are the ways that they are baiting you into setting you up to fail or fall, or setting you up to make you look bad in the eyes of other people in the room? So an example of taking the bait could be, maybe you know a lot about a specific issue that's going on in the world today, but you don't feel safe to talk about that specific issue because you are going to be put down for it. You're going to be shamed for it. You're going to be belittled. So you know that if you start speaking up about something that you know about that makes that narcissistic parent or a person in the family system feel threatened, this might be a place where they will bait you into being able to just knock you down right in front of the crowd. So you know something about an issue, and maybe it's something that is something that you do for a living and you know a lot about it. And so somebody in the narcissistic family system, or the narcissistic parent, brings up the issue and says, well, you know a lot about this. So they're building you up and trying to make you feel good for just a second before they knock you down. And so they may then ask you a question. You know a lot about this. So what do you think about this thing that's going on in the world today? And so you may just play right into their trap and just start, just saying, because a truly interested person who really wants to know what you know something about is going to sit there with interest. Narcissistic parents, family members don't think like that. So they're going to bait you by making you feel good for a second and then making you feel bad for the rest of the day and maybe even for the rest of your life if you don't take care of the fallout from something like this. So they set you up, they bait you, they want to get you talking just so that they can cut you down in the process. So you may get talking and you may share all this information about this issue that you know a whole lot about. And some people are really listening intently and very excited to hear what you have to say. And you're actually a little shocked because the narcissistic parent never asks you anything about yourself, especially not in front of mixed company. And then all of a sudden they do something or they pull something out that makes you look bad. So, or they're trying to make you look bad. Often it backfires and makes the narcissistic person look bad. But sometimes the thing is that they're so cunning and so skilled at their manipulation tactics that they may actually have thought about this. How do I take her down or him down at the Thanksgiving table? By getting them to talk about something they know something about, but then I'm going to twist the tables by sharing something else that might be a conflicting point of view. So that's how cunning these people can be, that they're really looking at how can I set this person up to fail? And so this is something that you need to really start to pay attention to when you're with your narcissistic family system and see who is baiting you. And one of the ways they bait you is trying to make you feel good for a moment before they make you feel bad. It's referred to as a front of the hand, back of the hand compliment. What they giveth, they're going to taketh away, basically, is what they do when this kind of thing happens. So just pay attention, start paying attention to how they might be doing that with other people in the narcissistic family system, and how they might be doing that with you. And if they start to try to bait you, don't take the bait. You can even just gracefully bow out of the conversation. You can decline to comment and maybe even defer the conversation to someone else. Like, oh, yeah, you know what? That's a great topic. But you know what? Who knows a little bit more about that than me is so and so. Or something where you're taking the focus off of you so that the way that they're trying to shove you down doesn't work. So really start noticing these things, like how are they baiting people around you? It's really fascinating and sad and scary and upsetting when you start to realize what they've been doing all along. But it's very important to start to become really conscious of what's going on in the family system so that you can just not engage. I mean, ultimately, that's what I want you to do, is just to not engage with the bait that they're giving you. The second way of dealing with narcissistic parents and family systems during the holidays, when you have to all get together and you're not quite sure how to act or react, is not to share details about your life. Now, chances are great that no narcissistic person in your family system is even going to ask you about your life because they are not interested and they don't really want to know. If they do ask you about your life, please understand that this is most often a manipulation, like I was just explaining in this last tactic that they use. It's a manipulation to get you to overshare, to share too much so that they can find some sort of loophole that they can make you feel horrible about. So they're going to be turning the tables. This is something that they're always doing. And another thing about this particular issue is that they're listening and collecting data on you. This is something that all narcissists do by and large, is they collect data and information on you that they're going to be using against you later. And it could be at the weirdest time where you're completely not expecting it. And they use the information against you. And so it's horrible. So the less you can share about your life, the better. If they start asking, well, how's the remodel going on at your house? Oh, it's great. We're having a really good time remodeling the house. It looks really beautiful. And maybe even share some pictures, but don't share too much information about the remodel because they're going to make you wrong for something about the remodel that you're doing. Or if they start like suddenly being interested in your work and they were never interested in your work before, there's always an ulterior motive. If you walk into these situations understanding that there's always an ulterior motive, there's always some kind of a manipulation tactic in play, it's actually kind of helpful when you start to look at and start to safeguard yourself against what those tactics might be by withdrawing from the situation. And again, you can use that deflection tactic as well, where you're deflecting onto somebody else in the group, or even to the narcissistic parent. Oh, well, what did you do with your renovation in your home? And you get them talking about their home renovation. It's all about them anyway. And so if you turn that table on them, it helps to take the focus off of you and helps you to stop sharing too much information with them. So you'll know exactly what I'm talking about if you have a narcissistic parent, that you just don't share. And you're going to learn not to share, or just to share very small approved topics during the holidays. And it's awful because you are really limiting yourself, and it feels terrible to limit yourself. But when you do this from a conscious place versus from an unconscious place, you then have the power in this particular situation. You then have the ability to move the energy and to protect yourself with those kinds of boundaries of just not entering into too much conversation with your narcissistic parent or family member. A third way of dealing with narcissistic parents during the holidays is to shy away from feeling responsible for their emotions. Now, this is a hard one, and maybe you don't even realize how much you might be carrying the shame and the guilt and the responsibility for their emotions. You're carrying those burdens, and you may not know you're doing that. And so one of the ways this starts in childhood, when you start to realize they can't handle emotional situations. They maybe use rage and they just fly off the handle out of nowhere. And it's terrifying for you. So then you learn, okay, I feel like I need to be in charge of their emotional state. So now I have to walk on eggshells. I have to be very careful about what I say, what I do. And so then you start to adjust yourself. But meanwhile, what you're doing is you're carrying the shame and the guilt for them, but they're laying it on you. They don't know what to do with their own shame or guilt. They don't want to touch their shame or guilt because that is too painful for them. So they are projecting it onto you. And so this becomes a cycle where you think that you have to, on some level, take care of the emotions of the narcissistic parent or other narcissistic family members. You may really be operating under the idea that everyone else is more important than you are, because you've been trained to believe that you don't matter, especially if you are a scapegoated child or you are in the invisible child role. You're often treated like you don't matter, so that when they suddenly start acting like you do matter, that's a really weird thing for you. And it should be a red flag for you to take a different tack during those situations. So feeling responsible for somebody else's emotional state is how codependency actually begins to happen. And if you're an empathic and sensitive person, you might be feeling that responsibility for your narcissistic parent because they lack the empathy that you have in spades. And they often will be energetically pulling on your empathy and your kindness to help them to feel better. And you're kind of giving it over to them and trying to hold them through the experience of their pain when it's not your responsibility, but you learn very young how to move with this empathy, lack of empathy situation that's happening between you and your narcissistic parent. And then you'll feel unconsciously, you'll feel a burden. You may consciously feel a burden around that. So this is really, really important to unhinge this pattern. This pattern can be really, really deep. And it can be, you can be really holding this deeply in your body with that belief that you don't matter, that you are nothing in some way. And it sounds strange, but I watch this all the time with my clients where they're holding on to this emotional experience from the narcissistic parent. And they feel like they have to hold the shame, they have to hold the guilt for the narcissistic parent. And then they're not even dealing with their own. So it's like you have no idea where you stop and they start because you weren't allowed to individuate. You had to become a part of this narcissistic family system and dynamics. And you had to be cast in a specific role that the narcissistic parent put you in. And then you're also the other siblings and other people in the family system have also been pit against each other in this type of system. And it is a really painful thing to wake up to, but it's so important when you do wake up to it, because then you'll start to see how you put everyone else ahead of you, how you're not a full on sovereign individual. But this is where you can change this. You can work on this, and you can work on releasing the emotions that you're holding and carrying, that heaviness, that weightiness that you're holding and carrying for your narcissistic parent or other members of the family system. So you can start to individuate and become a full, sovereign, true self, your iconic me, being the icon in your own life. This is really powerful and really empowering. So when you start to release yourself from being responsible for the emotions of your narcissistic parent or other family members, just think about that for a moment. Just feel into that. Just feel how free that feels. Like, this is extraordinary when you think about it. This makes you feel like you get to be you, and you don't have to be a part of the sickness of the system anymore. You can come to a family event, understand exactly what to expect, and look for what's actually happening in the room that you're now fully aware of. And then you can leave these narcissistic family system gatherings feeling more in your solid self, because you did things to protect yourself that were empowering. Whereas before, you were doing things to protect yourself with different emotions like anger and fear and sadness and grief and all of these things that were actually draining you of your power. And that power was going over to the narcissistic people in the family system. Here's the fourth thing that you can do in dealing with narcissistic parents and family members in the family system during the holidays is that you can have a plan to leave if you must. So always have an escape hatch is what I call it. Always have a plan to leave just in case you really need to. Like, if it becomes overwhelming, and this will happen, you didn't do a great job of disengaging when that was the thing that you walked into this family event to do. It's not easy. Sometimes the narcissistic person is so manipulative and so uncaring and so cruel that it's really hard for you to even use a tactic like this. And then so they keep pushing. They know that if there's like a pinprick of a way in for them, they're going to poke that open into a giant hole. And so you need to know this. You already know this on some level, but you need to know this and need to understand how to hold yourself in this solid self, the solid sovereign self. And it's not easy. The first time you do this, it is not easy. It does take practice. Everything I'm talking about today in this video takes practice. And it also takes a different way of thinking, because you've been entrained into a certain way of thinking by the narcissistic parent. that you may not have been very aware of, and you become incrementally aware of it over time. And as you become more conscious inside of these family events, you will become more and more aware of that. So having a plan to leave is a really important thing for you to do. Have a friend, a trusted friend you can go to, have a hotel that you can go to, or maybe just stay in a hotel or at a friend's house, period, because you know that it's just going to be better for you instead of staying in the home with the narcissistic family members. So just make sure that you have some sort of a plan to get out and go somewhere where you can feel more yourself, where you can kind of gather yourself and just kind of go with the, oh my gosh, what just happened? And someone you can talk to that can remind you that, like, no, you're not crazy. What you just went through was crazy making. You were just gaslit here or there. And I see it really clearly. And this is what happened. So if you have somebody in your life that can help you interpret that, therapist who is really well versed in narcissistic abuse is a really great way to go in these instances to help you just kind of understand, bounce off them, these things that are going on in your narcissistic family system, and help you to sort through those so that you can process them, so you can release them, you can let go, and you can heal. So, the fifth way of dealing with your narcissistic family system during the holidays is my favorite way. This is to look for the joy in the room. This is such an important part of your healing process, is to focus on the child in the room that's just, and just playing with them and their joy and their wonder, and, how they're experiencing the holiday. Maybe it's their first holiday, or maybe they're 2, 3, 4 years old. Just really focus on them and get into that enjoyment, that wonder, that excitement that they're feeling and that they're exploring. They're exploring the world around them during this holiday season, and this holiday event. So another thing you can do is, I mean, if there are no children in the room, or there's no pets in the room, pets are always great. The flowers on the table, just something that's beautiful, that connects you to beauty, that connects you to joy, that connects you to something that feels good. Maybe there's a library in the house, and there's actually some really great books in that library that are very inspirational. Maybe go pull that book off of the shelf, open it up to a page, and see what message is in there for you. Just know you're not alone when you go into these narcissistic family systems. You have so much guidance. You have your own inner guidance. You have your own intuition that's there available to you. You have the loving self, which I talk about a lot in my work. It's the most loving part of you, is always available to you and for you to help you through these situations. And so just know that you're not alone in this. It can feel so lonely when you're in the middle of your narcissistic family system, because it is a lonely place when nobody sees you, hears you, or understands you. Or maybe there's that one person in the family system who really gets you, and this person is really special, and you're able to really talk about the healing that they've done and the healing that you've done as well. That person is so valuable, so important. And having that kind of connection inside of the narcissistic family system is just priceless. And so remembering how precious that particular relationship is, or those relationships are, is just super, super important to your own healing process and to theirs as well. So finding the joy in the room, it really is one of my favorite things to do. And you can even journal before you go to your family events, to your holiday events. Journal about ways that you can show up in your narcissistic family system in a more empowered way, in a way that feels more solid for you. Journal about the things in this video. Like, what are the things that I'm going to do to not engage? What are some ways that I can deflect the conversation to someone else or something else, or back to the narcissistic person? That's usually a great way to deflect. And you do it in a very positive way that makes it them feel like, oh, wow, they really want to know something about me. So doing those kinds of things are really important. tactics that you can use. I don't like using the word tactics because it sounds like you're manipulating them to get something you want. But I think it's different when you've been the target of a narcissist. They become pathways that you can use to your own liberation. They become ways that you can really help yourself get through these events in ways that are empowering instead of feeling so disempowered. It doesn't mean you won't feel disempowered. It doesn't mean that they won't throw some sort of a zinger at you that you never saw coming, because that happens a lot. Um, but you're doing your very best to heal. And one of the ways of healing that I think is really powerful is to walk into this holiday event with the belief, with the thought, the understanding that you're going in. It's like a workshop for you when you're going into this event, and you're going to notice, how far have you come? So important to ask yourself, how far have I come? How well am I doing? How well did I do in this particular instance, in this particular, Thanksgiving dinner, for instance? And then you can also notice, what more do I need to work on? So, what are the places where you felt triggered, where you felt triggered into your own anger, your own resentment, fear, shame, guilt, all of those different emotions that narcissistic parents and family members are using or wielding to keep people under their control? And so look at those triggers, because those are the things that are going to help you heal. And this is where I help people heal with whole person integration technique, to look at the emotions that are up for you. Look at how you're holding those emotions in your body. And you can even do this at the Thanksgiving dinner table. You get triggered, you're feeling really bad. You're sitting there in silence going like, oh no, I don't want to say anything right now because I'm just feel terrible. Well, a lot of times when you're feeling terrible, you're feeling that awful feeling. It's shame. Somebody has just shamed you or guilted you into this trigger, but they did it to keep you down. So then you can even, like, if you're feeling it in your stomach, which is where a lot of us feel it, that center of personal power right there in the stomach, you can always put your hands on your stomach at the dinner table, and you can just ask that the healing power of the universe come into your body, filling you up. Fill me up with peace. Fill me up with joy. Fill me up with comfort. Fill me up with a boundary to help me in this moment. And you can silently do things like this while you're giving support to your own body as you're going through the experience of being around your narcissistic family and narcissistic parent. There's all these different tools that you can use, these energetic tools, and it's a lot of what I help people with. And in my Iconic Me therapeutic coaching program, I would love to talk to you about that. You can book a free consultation with me if you're interested in possibly working with me on the whole person integration technique and helping yourself to release the emotional root cause of pain that becomes persistent symptoms, that becomes eventually illness in the body, may already be illness in the body. It's my own story. And I love helping people heal from the holistic wounds, mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual wounds that narcissistic abuse that toll that it can take on you as you go through these times in your narcissistic family system. So I hope this information has been really helpful for you. I know it's been a lot of information for you today. I'm Dr. Meg Haworth. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have an amazing holiday season, and that this video will help you year after year to help you through your holidays. And I hope that this information will help you get well now.